to another edition of the Wake and J College Football Show. Uh, First round of the playoffs are over with, so this is going to be the first round recap. It's going to be, a relatively quick episode today, just because there is only 4 games to recap. Um, Nothing, no news, no notes that we really need to get into. Spoiler alert: I do not have a "Dude, are you high?" There is nothing that really jumped out to really to take over as the winner this week. I guess we could throw some certain fan bases in there, which I'm going to get into in a little bit here, but overall, there was really nobody to win that award this week. So this is just going to be strictly recap episode only, just recapping the 4 playoff games, and that's it. Because I did not give out any bets. If you listened to the preview episode and you took that parlay of Miami winning, Bama winning, Ole Miss and Oregon winning, then you came out a winner. So props to you if you took that. But I didn't give out any bets. I didn't tweet out any bets. I just kind of left it as is. Now, moving forward, I will be better about that. For the second round of the playoffs, I will make sure that I will give out bets for every game. I kind of with Ole Miss and Oregon basically getting a bye, I really just didn't feel like, because I didn't even really preview those games that much. I did not want to give out any bets for those games because I don't really cover the group of 5 that often. Plus, it also felt like those were going to be games that they won no problem. Um, we'll get into it too. Oregon had such a bad beat. They just that one sucked for anybody who had the spread on that one. That's all I'll say. But yeah, let's have a good wake and bake sesh, and let's get into recapping the games. All right, we are going to start with Alabama and Oklahoma. Alabama comes away with the 34-24 win, and I have a lot of thoughts on this. So I've been an Oklahoma hater pretty much all season. I just felt like games against, I hate to use the word lucky, but games against Tennessee, their win against Alabama earlier this year, I'm not going to say the word lucky, but they had a lot of turnovers that helped. And some of these games that they have won this season, turnovers were a big reason why they won. It wasn't the offense. It was a lot of the defense. It was a lot of special teams. Um, but they had a lot of turnover luck. Turnovers are not really a repeatable stat. Those can be a lot of luck, and they were not able to get any turnovers in this game. Going into this game, I said that if Alabama wanted to win, they needed to protect Ty Simpson. And at the beginning of that game, they definitely were not. Ty Simpson looked rattled to start that game. He looked uncomfortable. Oklahoma was getting after him. It looked like we were going to be in for a long night. Oklahoma got out to that 17-0 lead. And then Alabama just flipped a switch, turned it on, and marched right back. Had like 24 plus unanswered. Ended up winning the game 34-24. And really kind of an ugly game from both teams. Oklahoma started off hot. Alabama finished hot. Um, the first 4 drives for Oklahoma, they had 166 yards of offense. Ever since that, after that drive, they had 10 drives to finish out the game, and they had 196 yards. Just started out hot, didn't finish strong. I will say this, John Mateer, he is a big reason why that Oklahoma offense has been terrible this year. Part of it is, he was hurt, but he also just hasn't been great either. Just decision making just hasn't been great. I will say he didn't play as terrible as he's been this year. Now, looking at the stats, you would think he played great. 26 to 41, 307 yards, two touchdowns, and an interception. I don't put, a lot of people are going to say, what the hell was that interception? I don't put all the blame on him for that interception. The wide receiver, from watching that game, ran the wrong route. If you watch it back, it looks like he was trying to signal to the wide receiver to run a different route, and the receiver just, it didn't register, didn't see it, whatever the case may be. Receiver ran the wrong route, threw it right to the defender. Tough. Absolutely tough. But the craziest thing about this game, Oklahoma, who has, I guess we could say, they have the best special teams in the country. Special teams failed them. If you didn't see, go back and watch the punter just straight up dropped the ball. I've watched that play over and over, trying to figure out how he dropped it, and it just dropped right out of his hands. It just slipped right out. I don't understand how it happened, what happened. That was tough. Their kicker, who has been pretty much automatic, I'm pretty sure, didn't he miss like the first kick or two of the year, and then he just went on a streak. I'm pretty sure he even won the Lou Groza Award. He missed two field goals down the stretch. Just, I don't. Tough break for Oklahoma. Again, it feels like they had gotten lucky in a few other games this year, and then the luck just finally ran out. And it feels like, again, I don't like to use the word lucky, but I'm really saying it a lot when I'm recapping this game. Alabama's kind of lucky to have won this game at the same time. They were 2 of 12 on third down. They had 220, no, sorry, 28. I don't know where I got the 200. They had 28 total yards rushing the whole game. And it's not like they only ran it like 5 times. No, they ran it like 25 times for a total of 28 yards. They had no run game, which is typical. Alabama hasn't had that all year. Multiple drops in this game. Just so many balls right to the receiver's hands, and they just dropped them. Ryan Williams did it. Jeremy Bernard did it. It was kind of sloppy from both teams. All-time choke from Oklahoma. All-time collapse. When it comes to fan-on-fan interactions, I would say 99% of my interactions with college football fans, relatively positive. I have had so many bad interactions with Oklahoma fans, and I'm almost kind of happy to see them lose. I also did pick Alabama to win this game, so I was definitely rooting for Alabama. Not gonna lie, that first quarter and a half, I was definitely sweating a little bit. But you know who feels terrible today or after this weekend? All the Alabama haters, all the people that were screaming from the rooftops, Alabama does not deserve to be in the playoff. And then Alabama goes and beats Oklahoma on the road. Those people have to be feeling terrible, and I just know all the Alabama fans out there definitely kept receipts, and when they start bringing those receipts out, nobody's allowed to get mad because I hate to say this about Alabama, but they deserve to gloat a little bit. Um, so, by the way, either team, Oklahoma or Alabama, whoever won this game, has to go and take on Indiana. I mean, I like Indiana in that game. I don't see either team beating Indiana. Um, so in reality, this game probably does not matter. But Alabama moves on. Miami and Texas A&M. My goodness. Okay, so Miami wins 10-3. I'll just get the score out there. You, I put out a quick recap of this game. It was an ugly game. I'm sorry. It was an ugly game. And no, that's not because I have to have great offense to think it's a good game. It was an ugly game. Miami's play calling was just crazy the whole game. Carson Beck, he was like 6 of 8 for 9 yards to finish the first half. I understand it was windy. they still didn't even try to throw the ball down the field. And when they did, yes, I will admit at least one throw down the field looked like it was affected by the wind. Other than that, they just didn't really try to throw the ball down the field. Texas A&M tried. It's just Marcel Reed is wildly inaccurate. Now, yes, I know he was under pressure a lot. I get that. But this has been a Marcel Reed problem all season where he is just really inaccurate and just even on simple screens, receivers are having to jump for the ball or go down low for the ball. He just never hits his receivers. And even on that game sealing interception, the throw was behind the receiver, and we saw so many throws that were behind the receiver. He had wide receivers open. He just was not hitting them in stride. He was late getting to them. Again, even on simple screens, receivers had to jump for it. Marcel Reed, yes, I know he was under pressure, but this has been a problem all season. He is just an inaccurate quarterback. And I guess this would apply to Oklahoma as well, with John Mateer. I firmly believe that the quarterback is holding Texas A&M back. I firmly believe that Marcel Reed is holding back Texas A&M. I firmly believe that John Mateer is holding back Oklahoma. I think both are fine quarterbacks. They're not great quarterbacks, and to win the national title, you need a great quarterback, and neither one has been great because everything around them is good to great. But the quarterback position is just lacking. You could argue John Mateer needs more weapons. You could argue maybe Marcel Reed needs a better offensive line. At the end of the day, both quarterbacks are holding these teams back. Both teams lost this weekend. Both teams, I believe, with a better quarterback, could win the national championship. Now, like I said, this game was ugly, and you would have thought I said some of the most vile stuff ever because I had people coming after me. Oh, you just don't like good football. You have to have good offense. Because I said it wasn't a great game for Carson Beck. Miami fans are thinking I'm saying the worst stuff about their team. Relax. It was an ugly game. No, it was not a great game from Carson Beck. Yes, I know he did exactly what he was told to do and did just enough to win the game. Sure, whatever. I understand that the play calling held him back. Doesn't mean it was a good game from Carson Beck. Again, 14 of 20, 103 yards, and we're going to give him a touchdown. That was not a touchdown throw. He handed the ball off to Malachi Tony, who ran it in. We're being generous with that touchdown. I understand he, I guess, did toss it. It really looks like he just handed it off, but whatever. It was not a great game from Carson Beck. The real MVP of this game, Mark Fletcher. 17 carries, 172 yards, started breaking some, I think he had like a 56-yarder late in the game. Just he's really who we should be talking about just because Carson Beck didn't have a great game, and that's fine. He also didn't lose the game for them, which is something you can't always say about Carson Beck. But Mark Fletcher, need to give him his roses. 17 carries, 172 yards. Did not score, but that's fine. He's the real MVP for Miami offensively. Defensively, I mean, I already mentioned it. Marcel Reed was under pressure a ton. Ruben Bain, Keontae Scott, just a living nightmare for Marcel Reed. Miami as a whole finished with 7 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and forced 3 turnovers. 2 interceptions, and then Marcel Reed also fumbled, got sack fumble. Ruben Bain, Keontae Scott, they combined for 5 of those sacks and 7 of those tackles for loss. That on top of the fact that, again, Marcel Reed's just not good. Miami dominated defensively. Texas A&M, I don't even Cassius Howell, we didn't hear his name all day. It wasn't a great game from Texas A&M defensively. It's just Miami had some of the most questionable play calling, and they missed 3 field goals. Yes, now here's the other thing. I mentioned the wind did not really affect the passing game, in my opinion, but what it did affect was field goal kicking. My goodness. Miami's kicker was struggling. 1 of 4, some that he definitely should not have missed. Definitely got in his head a little bit. That wind was definitely in his head based off of those first 2 kicks. Texas A&M also having their own kicker problems. It was an ugly game. You can't tell me that it wasn't. Special teams was ugly. Offense was ugly. Even Texas A&M's defense wasn't great. It's just, again, like I said, Miami's was offense was just lackluster. I did pick Miami to win this game because I did not trust Texas A&M as a whole. I did not trust Marcel Reed. I did not trust their easy schedule. The fact that they barely beat three of the bottom four teams in the SEC just had me questioning. I had Texas A&M. I had a future on them to make the playoff because of their easy schedule. They delivered on that as soon as they made the playoffs. I had no faith in them whatsoever. Miami does move on now, similar to the Oklahoma Alabama game. I don't see either one of these teams. It didn't matter who won this game. Neither one is beating Ohio State. I think we can all agree both teams are going to lose to Ohio State. Ohio State is going to dominate either one. I shouldn't say dominate because you never know, but I have a strong feeling that they will. Neither team's beating Ohio State, so in the end, this game does not matter, but Miami does come away with the 10-3 win. Okay, so now we get into the controversial games. The discussion we're all having, why do we have two group of five teams in the playoff? And I mean, I agree. But here's the thing, it's the rules that the committee set up. It's how they made the playoffs where it has to be the top five conference champions. They just never thought it would ever come to this, or if it did, we'd be so many years down the road and already expanded to a new playoff. They didn't think this was going to happen year two, and it happened year two. The ACC has a 7-5, sorry, 8-5 now, conference champion, and they're not one of the five best. It was something we all saw that could happen. We never thought it actually would, and it happened. And so now we've got Tulane and JMU in the playoff. And I'm just going to say it now. I wouldn't be shocked if we see some tweaks to the college football playoff next year, just like we saw going into this season where the top four conference champions automatically get a bye. They nixed that after year one because you had Boise State with a bye week. Can't have that happening. And then the group of five screws it up this year again by getting two teams in the playoff. There's going to be some changes made to the college football playoff format moving forward. I don't know exactly how they're going to go about it, but they are going to make sure that either only one group of five team gets in and they're always going to be the 12 seed unless they prove otherwise, or they may just make the group of five teams prove that they are one of the 12 best teams in the country. Because I think everybody's so sick that BYU's at home, Notre Dame's at home, Vanderbilt's at home, Utah's at home. Any one of those teams, and I'm going to give some flowers to JMU and Tulane, but I mean, any one of those teams would have been a better matchup for Ole Miss and Oregon. So, based on how the committee has the rules set up, I agree. Both of these teams should be in the playoff based on the rules that the committee had set forth. But do I think JMU and Tulane are one of the 12 best teams in the country? Absolutely not. They are not one of the 12 best teams. Are they one of the top 25 teams in the country? Sure. Do I think JMU and Tulane could beat a couple top 25 teams? One or two, yes, probably. So I will say they can be a top 25 team. They're not one of the 12 best teams. They did not deserve to be in the playoff, but based on the rules that the committee has set, unfortunately they do. Ole Miss with a 41-10 win over Tulane. I mean, this was the only thing that was different between this meeting and the first meeting. Ole Miss scored 41 instead of 45. Uh, and Tulane actually was moving the ball offensively. They finished with over 400 yards of offense, which in the first meeting they had like 200. So I mean, the scoreboard doesn't show it, but a much better offensive showing from Tulane this time around. So props to them on that. Um, but I mean, this is what we expected. Let's be honest. Ole Miss had nearly 500 yards of offense. Trinidad Chambliss looked great. Had over 300 yards total offense, throwing the ball, running the ball. Kwan Lacey had a great game. Just really couldn't be stopped offensively. Didn't have, I mean, they allowed 400 yards of offense to Tulane, but I mean, Only allowed 10 points. This is exactly what we expected. Ole Miss and Oregon, along with Ohio State, Texas Tech, Georgia, Indiana, they all had a bye this week or for this round. Um, this next game, Oregon and JMU, was a little concerning. And I know that sounds weird to say because Oregon won by multiple scores. And my goodness, Oregon's a 20.5 point favorite in this game. And JMU goes on a 99-yard drive, scores a touchdown with a minute with a minute left to bring it to 17 to Oregon to have a 17-point lead instead of a 24-point lead before that. Tough break. That sucked for anybody who had Oregon minus 20.5. This guy, that was tough to watch. But JMU, congrats on James Madison for scoring the most points that anybody has against Oregon this year, for having the most yards that anybody's had against Oregon this year. Are some going to argue that Oregon's defense kind of just gave up in that second half or in that fourth quarter? Yes. Do I think it's possible? Yes, definitely. Do I think Oregon, if they were trying their hardest from start to finish, do I think JMU scores 34 and do I think they have 500 yards of offense? No. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have some success and that they wouldn't have scored 20 plus and had over 300 yards, but I think Oregon did let off the gas a little bit. Dan Lanning was not thrilled with their performance after the game. He did mention that in the post-game interview. Um, it's a little concerning that Oregon allowed that many points and that many yards to a group of five team. Again, at the same time, I really don't think that they were trying their hardest at the very end there. Dominating wins, still not great, especially like I said, I think they just kind of let off the gas. I don't love that they did that because as someone who has them making the national title game, uh, just seeing that makes me nervous. Even if I know they let off the gas, I still don't love to see it. Um, Dante Moore, 19 of 27, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's the other thing. The offense scored 51 points and was just dominant all game as a whole. Oregon had over 200 yards on the ground, had nearly 8 yards a carry. But Dante Moore with those 2 interceptions, I don't love that they turned the ball over twice. I don't love that they allowed JMU to have 500 yards of offense and score 34 points. In the end, though, I'm really nitpicking, if we're being completely honest. Um, this was a dominating win. Oregon just, from the start, could not be stopped offensively, except for those 2 turnovers. Um, Texas Tech and Oregon, I mean, here's the thing. Nobody is giving Texas Tech any love. It feels like everybody thinks this is going to be an easy win for Oregon. I think Texas Tech is being slept on a little bit. Do I think Oregon's going to win that game? Yes. But we cannot sleep on Texas Tech. They have a great defensive line. If you want to win championships, you have to win the line of scrimmage. And Texas Tech defensively may be able to win the line of scrimmage against Oregon, and if they can do that, this is not a guaranteed win for Oregon. But I do still think Oregon wins. Also, Ole Miss beating Tulane. They go on to play Georgia, rematch there. By the end of that first matchup, Georgia had figured out how to make Trinidad Chambliss uncomfortable, which nobody's really been able to do this year. Yes, Ole Miss is going to go into this game with a little bit different game plan because they saw what Georgia did in that fourth quarter. But Georgia knows exactly what to do to make Trinidad Chambliss uncomfortable. I think Kirby Smart is going to have his guys ready. It's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year, but I think Georgia's going to be able to do it, and I do think that they can beat Ole Miss. I do think all top four seeds move on to the quarterfinal or semifinal. I don't know. I always get confused with those. But yeah, it was still a good weekend of college football. I still enjoyed the Miami Texas A&M game, even if it was an ugly game. That doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. Even bad football is still good football, just like bad pizza's still good pizza. It applies to college football. Bad football is still good football. It was an ugly game though, and I think we can all agree to that. I enjoyed the Oklahoma Alabama game. Just was it sloppy from both teams? 100%. But the highs and lows of that game, just the 17-0 lead for Alabama, 24 or I mean for Oklahoma, the 24 unanswered from Alabama to come back. They win by 10. Just it was a great weekend. It's just we also had two stinkers to cap it off, which kind of just leaves a sour taste in your mouth. Um, but I'll leave you with this. If you remember last year, we also had a ton of blowouts in the first round. I think every game might have been a blowout. Nah, except for one. Um, this is what we can expect. There's going to be a lot of first round blowouts. It just happens to be that this year it was from two group of five teams. And in other years, like last year, Ohio State and Tennessee, my goodness, that was not a fun game. Penn State and SMU, although that might have been no, yeah, Penn State and SMU, that was not a good game. Just we're gonna have stinkers in the first round. We just got to remember that. It's just unfortunate that it happened to be two group of five teams this year. Um, but yeah, thank y'all for joining me. Oh, moving forward, so basically, I guess I'll preview some bowl games. We're still gonna go try to go live Sundays at 10:30. Um, it just might not be really recapping games like I normally do. Um, Starting this week, start going into conference recaps and team by team recaps. Just starting with like the ACC, Big 12, just recapping the season as for the conference as a whole, as well as each individual team. Again, it's hard with bowl games and opt outs and what teams actually want to be there, but I will try to preview probably a couple bowl games, but not too many. Uh, and then and then we will start getting into previewing the playoffs, recapping the playoffs, and kind of going from there. So, thank y'all for joining me. Um, I enjoyed that first round. I hope you did too. And I will talk to you guys later this week.